Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we're going to see a basic concept. Now, you must have understood pods in the previous section. Now, we're going to understand about further down the line where we're going to use the pods and how we can actually be utilizing the pod using different stuff. So the next video or the next section, which you're going to start is replication controller. Now, when you go to the replication controller session, you will be wondering where is the pods? Pods, we don't mention it because when you say replication controller, obviously pods are the one which is the end result of it. So whatever the kind you're going to use later point of time, like for example, deployments, daemon sets, cron jobs, deployments, daemon sets, replica sets, likewise, you're going to use any of these. Pods will be eventually created because pods is where the logic is, because your image or the container will be sitting in the pod level and pod is the operations of it. So what you have to understand is that the pod is an actual outcome of what you have deployed as a replication controller in this example. Now, it could be a deployment. So what this means is that the pod is actually the outcome of it. So while removing the pod will not fetch you any result, because the removing the pod will actually create a new pod and assign it to your replication controller in this example. So all I'm saying is please do remember and understand what is the name of your pod. By default, the pod name has actually the values which you are given as a pod when you're creating just a pod, right? But then if it comes with an hyphen and it says a random value like this, which is something which you're not given, this means that the pod is controlled by someone else. So which means that if I delete this pod, there'll be another pod replacing it with another random value on the end of it. What that implies is that someone else is controlling the pod, and the pod is getting recreated because of the person who's controlling the pod. So you need to understand, or you need to run a describe command, try to get what actually or who actually is controlling the pod and how actually the pod is getting created autonomously. So first of all, you should not delete the pod unless you understand the connection between them. Sometimes the pod will have two unique values, as you can see over here. There are two unique values over here. This means that the pod is 2 level lower. So just like this, you can create another layer. There's another layer under that. That's basically a deployment. When you do a deployment, the first layer is the first one which starts the kindest deployment, and under that you will have replica set, and under that you will have pods. So which means that you have 2 layers. That's why you are getting such a long, lengthy number. So it specifies this. I've also explained it as part of the videos, so don't worry, it is also coming in as explanation. But then this is something which you need to know before you proceed further, so that you don't get confused, on how to remove the pod. So removing the individual pods will not help you unless you cut off or delete the one which is at the top level. So in Unix, we call it the parent process ID, right? You have the process ID and you have the parent process ID. So how many times ever you kill the process ID, it keeps spawning up again, because it is the parent process ID which actually is spawning up the child process, because it detects the child process has quit and it recreates the child process. The similar concept is what over here. Now, this replication controller is the parent process ID. Unless and until you don't delete this, obviously it's going to create these pods at the lower level, because this is called replication. Replication meaning that having number of instances accumulated, or in this situation, it is pods. In a real-time scenario, I'm executing this particular file, so you don't know what it is. I don't have to worry about it. Now, these are the pods which gets created. Now, you can see that this pod has a random value. There are 2 levels of values over here. So this, I can feel that it is something to do with your deployment. As you can see, the deployment name is the former name of it, and you have the complete pod name, which has 2 levels. The first level, as I know, I have designed this YAML file. I know there's a replica set which actually has the first unique value, which you can see over here, and the second unique value is assigned over here. Let's just do a understanding on describe with the pod name. So I'm not doing anything else. I don't know anything else. All I'm seeing is that I'm seeing a pod running in this name with this unique value. I just want to understand who is controlling this pod. Run this value, describe, and then I go up where I see controlled by. You can see that controlled by. So it is controlled by a replica set. Now all I do is like go back to the previous command. Let's clear the screen. Go back to the previous command, remove the pod description and put replica set description. I know you don't know anything about replica set. You don't really need to know about it. It's just like going to the parent right now. You're just going to the parent and trying to see who is the one who is creating these or controlling these. I can see that controlled by again, deployment, Sterling C production web deployment. So now you understand the parent. Now, how do you know this is the parent? You do another describe, clear the screen. You do another describe. So obviously there is no unique value. That's one identification. You can get it from the name of it, but you never know in a production environment. You never know, right? So now let's just do a describe here. Now you will not see a word controlled by here. So which means that this is the parent, which is actually controlling a lot of action items. And what it is controlling is mentioned as replicas over here. Desired is 3. And those 3s are nothing but your pods, which we will talk later. Later, I will show you a clearer understanding on this piece. But as of now, think about that you can actually trace back to the previous version. Sorry, I got a call. Sorry about the background noise if you were able to hear anything. So yeah, that's pretty much what I want to tell you about this. Give you a heads up about the deleting part of it. So you need to always search for the root, and I need to remove the root, and then basically removes everything else under it. So if you just look at this, right? So it's just like control delete, and then what it is app.deploy, deployment.apps, and then the name of the application. You can see that it clears off everything under it. So that's basically a way of removing it, and that also helps. You can also use this same apply command which you did, right? So you can just use instead of apply, you can just do delete as well. So this also works fine. So there's no issue. So these are two different methods of deleting as well. So this is just for your information. So when you go down the line, you may have to come back here one more time and then just review this if you have any questions on this. Thank you again for your patience. I'll see you in the next video.